with another music reaction, and it's a real treat for this lifelong Springsteen fan to actually be able to do first-time reactions to songs by Bruce Springsteen. I'm one of those fans who dug out all of the bootlegs at the record fairs, who listens to the podcast and is, dare I say it, somewhat of a Springsteen scholar. And I got into Springsteen when I was very young in the 80s and have seen him live many, 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 many times since then. And what a treat to have these 7 unreleased albums all dropping at once in the form of tracks too. So I'm going through the songs as they come out. This is about as hot off the press as it gets. It's morning here in New Zealand. I've woken up to another one of these fortnightly drops of these preview songs, the song ADELITA, I believe it's called. It is entirely possible that I'm saying that wrong. And I have, just woken up here in New Zealand, haven't even had my morning coffee, and I'm going to play this song straight away and react to it immediately. Quick reminder that I do appreciate feedback. Leave comments here on the channel. Likes and subscribes make a huge difference to help people find the channel and raise the profile of it, and it results in more conversation, which is a primary motivator for doing these with a greater level of regularity. And with 7 albums of new Springsteen material dropping soon, I suspect regularity will not be a problem. I would also invite you to check out the other content on this channel, including the Rewatch Project with Hannah and Mike, the podcast where my wife and I go back and rewatch some of our favourite film and television franchises, in addition to the other film, TV, and music, and just general pop cultural related goodness that also cohabits this here's channel. Last but not least, a quick reminder that we appreciate donations via PayPal, but if and only if you can afford to do so without causing yourself any financial hardship. So, ADELITA. No idea what to expect here. I believe this is from the Inyo album. Again, don't know if I'm saying that right, which I believe was going to come out or was recorded around the time, this sort of weirdly prolific period in the mid-90s, around the time of Ghost of Tom Joad, just subsequent to that, I believe. So, okay, let's go for it. Here we go. Let's listen to some new Bruce Springsteen.
In the high seas, camped with the soldiers, and a young soldier who ran fought. Side by side with Francisco Villa, Adelita. Far from my home now, Texican soldiers, not for fortune or rest, to the battlefield I find.
Going to pause there for a moment. This is interesting because clearly he's still in that border narrative mode of storytelling that he was for Ghost of Tom Joad, with Sinaloa Cowboys and The Line and those songs, those border songs that he'd perform at the end of the set on the, the sit-down set on the Tom Joad tour, which I was lucky enough to see front row in 1996 in Birmingham, England, after camping out in snow with just a bottle of whiskey to keep me warm. But also there's a much more, that sort of Spanish, Mexican mariachi sound. There was a leak of a song that I think people thought was going to be on Western Stars on Instagram, The Last Charro. I think that's from these sessions. So what we're seeing here is even more, the music sonically is reflecting the place, both literally and artistically, that the song inhabits as well. But it very much sounds like a continuation of the Ghost of Tom Joad, but with even more of a kind of flavour, a cultural flavour to the music that we did see on some of the acoustic arrangements with the arpeggiated finger picking on the actual tour versions of Tom Joad. So it definitely feels like that's where we are. And of course, the mariachi trumpet as well makes one think of some of Bruce's latest stuff as well, like We Are Alive from Wrecking Ball, kind of played in that field in the same way that, Johnny Cash would use that for a similar one. So far, really beautiful. I mean, clearly this is a narrative song, a little bit like, I think, Black Cowboys on Devils and Dust. I'm feeling that a little bit. So, I think I'm going to need, like all of us, a bit of time to sit with the song and really listen to the lyrics and absorb it. So I probably won't comment too much on the narrative of the song, which is, doing it a bit of a disservice. What I will say is that I think that a lot of Bruce's 90s acoustic stuff, I love it. I was probably peaking in my Springsteen fandom around the time that Ghost of Tom Joad came out. But, I don't go back to those albums that much because, they're not necessarily pleasurable listening experiences. So I can see that this might be another one of these songs that divides the fans, because these weren't put out for a reason, not because they're poor quality, but because the timing wouldn't have been right. It would have been absolute, probably irreparable commercial suicide if Springsteen had put this or Blind Spot or one of these things out after Tom Joad or after Human Touch and Lucky Town. I think he needed the safety net of greatest hits and tracks and the reunion tour at that point, certainly from a business perspective. But I think artistically, this is really interesting. But I don't think that his 90s acoustic stuff has that crystal clarity of Nebraska, say. Like when you listen to Highway Patrolman, for example, for the first time, the narrative of that song is so clear. Whereas the 90s songs, and this is neither a compliment nor a put down, you have to sit with longer. It's harder to actually physically understand the lyrics. Springsteen his singing voice isn't as crystal clear or as plain or as stark. That's the word that was often used as Nebraska. And that's a choice. I'm not criticizing this for that. I guess what I'm saying is that I won't be able to comment too much on the narrative element of this song until I've had a chance to listen to it a few more times, which is, of course, doing the song a disservice because so much of this song, even just 30 seconds in, is clearly going to hang on that narrative element of it. So to purely judge it sonically, doing a little bit of a disservice. But that's what I'm going to do because I am listening to this for the first time. And when I listen to Springsteen songs for the first time, I do generally just let them wash over me, which is very difficult to do when you're doing a reaction video. But let's go back to the beginning and I'm just going to listen to this song and see how it feels. Love that intro.
In the high seas, camped with the soldiers, and a young soul down the Hoover.
Some wartime.
Side by side with Francisco Villa, ADELITA. Far from my home now, Texican soldiers, not for fortune or rest, to the battlefield I find.
God, what a storyteller.
Love of ADELITA in my very soul, stained in arms is night. She said, Johnny, if I should die in battle.
Bit more musically dense than Tom Joad.
My love, in God's name. If I don't remember me, yet my blood will not have been spilled in vain. On horseback, a carbon full in at his side.
Bass guitar filling out.
Just filled a bundle at arms. Side by side in the battle we rode the stars. In my ADELITA. We met the enemies, the more mountain, and the bullets of our soldiers died. Heaven that I lay falling with my comrades. ADELITA stood above us, firing a rifle till the gunpowder turned her hand black.
It's so funny because one of the things that Tracks 2 will do is show, just for diversity of Springsteen's music, I think people see Bruce for a pretty narrow keyhole, But this song, for example, is so lyrically dense. And if you compare this to Rain in the River, which is essentially just a couple of lines of lyric and a repeated refrain, Faithless is similar. Whereas this has this narrative, prosaic density to it, And again, I think that Tracks 2 is going to be a tougher sell. It's less E Street, Tracks 1, it had all of those, We're not going to be getting Murder Incorporated, This Hard Land, Loose Ends, Take Them As They Come, all of those great Springsteen songs, those great E Street songs. This is a much more contemplative, experimental, doodling Springsteen that we're seeing in all of these songs that we've heard so far. And I think as a deep dive fan, I find that really interesting and appealing and insightful. And I think, it adds to the sort of scholarship of Springsteen's music for sure. Let's keep going.
The sky was blue, the canyon earth trembled. Watched this bullet pierce my love side.
Wow, dark.
She fell amidst the brothers and sisters, smoking empty sky in her eyes. Adelita, my love, Adelita, my wine.
Oh, beautiful core vocals.
Remember your freedom feels Saturday.
There's a romantic element to this song. And I'm not just, necessarily talking about, romantic love, although that seems to be there. I mean, a romance in the literary sense, with the strings and the vocals and the refrain and the pastoral imagery. It's really beautiful. It's probably more purely beautiful or beatific than anything on Ghost of Tom Joad. And I think it's really easy to saddle all this stuff together, but there are differences.
I remember the warmth of your skin against mine.
Oh, beautiful. Beautiful. It's almost like a funereal kind of. Sort of somewhere between Tom Joad and Western Stars almost. I'm getting the Bruce bumps.
My mind beats the vows I made. I know I'll never see Texas again. Your portrait I carry deep in my breast pocket. A rifle fired in the Campania, right with you round my heart. Protected from this death by beauty.
Who produced this? Is this Annie Allo? Can I come back to this? Beautiful. Wow, okay. I like that a lot more than I thought I was going to. Reacting to songs is kind of a weird, artificial thing to do. It's not usually how we listen to music. I enjoy it. I don't feel like I'm sacrificing the song, and I'll go back and I'll listen to this on my headphones just for my own enjoyment afterwards. But I think I rushed to judge this song. I thought, okay, this sounds good. This sounds interesting. I know what this is. But I felt like, I'm in for a little bit of a, the line, Sinaloa Cowboys, Malamora's Bank, kind of, enjoyable slog. That style of Springsteen I like and I really appreciate, but it does feel a little bit like eating your vegetables sometimes. But I wasn't expecting this to erupt into such expansion. I wasn't expecting it to go so kind of John Ford. The thing that really jumps out to me about this is that I don't know if elevates is the right word, but certainly separates it from Springsteen's canon in this space is just the gorgeosity of the arrangements and how it really does feel like a movie in the way that not only have you got the narrative elements like you do in songs like Highway Patrolman and Sinaloa Cowboys and those sort of songs, but you've got a movie score under it as well, like the moment where there's this transcendent moment, this ascension, this moment of ascension or loss or whatever you want to call it. This sweeping music comes in and carries us and underpins the emotion of the narrative of the song in the same way that a John Williams score would for a movie that we're watching. So yeah, I really enjoyed that. Looking forward to seeing what comes next. I think maybe we've got another 1 or 2 tracks to drop before tracks 2 itself. which I will do a song-by-song reaction for. So there's going to be a lot of Bruce coming. Also, check out the other music reactions on this channel. I've been doing a lot of first-time listens of Elvis Presley songs. Elvis is a big gap for me. So a rather sinful gap, I might say, particularly as a Springsteen fan or a rock and roll or a popular culture fan. So check those out along with the other film, TV, music, and general pop culture related goodness that is also on this channel. And as I say, we do very much appreciate donations via PayPal, but only if you can afford to do so without causing yourself any financial hardship. Otherwise, I'll see you out in the comments page. And please share the wealth. Let people know that I'm doing these. Let other Springsteen fans know I am one of you. And it's really great to have these conversations. So see you soon. Bye-bye.